Who's going to score first on LAFC? Also, how far can the USL go in the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup? And are the Philadelphia Union really as bad as their record? We talk about that now.
Stand up, we gon' make some moves tonight. You stand up, got something to prove tonight. So stand up, we ain't gonna plan tonight. We gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright. We ain't gonna stall, never stop. We gon' make it all till the top. We ain't gonna plan tonight. We gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright.
Hey folks, what is going on? My name is Scott Churchson, and joining me as very often is the case, Mr. Bill Akins, talking MLS, talking USL, and pretty much talking the entire world of North American soccer. Today, as I already mentioned, we'll be talking the Philadelphia Union. Do they really suck as much as their record says they do? US Open Cup, a slightly early preview of that, and LAFC, and frankly, just the West. It is a good time to be a soccer fan on I-5. So, sir, how the heck are you?
Doing good, Scott. How are you, buddy?
Hey, no complaints, no complaints. So, yeah, let's kick this thing off right now. Right out of the gate, we have a team with LAFC. 6 matches right now, 5-0-1 record, and 6 straight clean sheets. The current record, and this is a probably way too early stat for this, but the current record for the fewest amount of goals allowed in a season is 22 by the Philadelphia Union. They're currently at 0-6. So my question to you is, when is that first goal going to happen? And did it already happen because I jinxed
it? yeah, you may have jinxed it. Just an unbelievable. I mean, first club in MLS history to start the season with 6 consecutive clean sheets, setting that MLS record. 540 consecutive shutout minutes to open a season. Yeah. Just a really dominant performance by them. And you're outscoring opponents 14-0 in their first 6 matches. What they did to Orlando City was damn near criminal. I mean, 5-0 victory over them. And then you might as well hit them up on a charge with what they did with Miami. I mean, 3-0 win. Jeez, So, I mean, they're rolling, man. They are rolling. Boanga's playing better. I mean, well, he's been the key scorer. Had that hat trick against Orlando City, and then Min as well, another guy who's been, getting it done for them. But they're on a historic run to open up this season.
Yeah, there was a lot of concerns there when Torungelo basically stepped down, retired, and Santos came in. And a lot of concerns, a lot of belief that this team was going to honestly take a step back. And somehow, and I think maybe part of the reason is because Son has had a full off season to adapt, much like Messi did his first year. Yeah. That I think the team is just stronger than they were last year. And It's impressive, it's dangerous, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch how far this team goes this year.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they're just I mean, we knew they were going to be good, right? I mean, we even said this, we knew they were going to be good. I don't know that I expected this. I mean, this is pretty this is uncharted territory that they're in right now. Like I said, a very historic start. They started off, when you look at their overall offensive attack, they started off a little relatively quiet to open up the season. But, moving forward, they have just showed explosive potential in some of these, recent matches. Martinez is another guy who has been amazing for them. They're establishing themselves early as contender for that Supporters Shield. I don't know. What do you think? Does Portland maybe the first to crack the scoring on them? I don't know. You don't have a lot of big goal scorers on Portland. I mean, Velde's about the only guy
last year, yeah.
But. Right. Velde's about the only guy you got. I mean, well, no, I shouldn't say that. Mora's, he's got a goal. Anthony's got a goal. Velde's, has a couple. So, but they're not Portland's a 1-1-4 team. I mean, that's not I don't know. I think you're going to have another clean sheet on that one, maybe.
I mean,
possibly.
It's funny with Portland. They're 1-1-1 at home so far. They've just been really struggling on the road right now. They are a team that is probably not going to make the playoffs this year, but it is still a road match at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see what LAFC can do here. I'll be honest. I think, and now that obviously, like I said, I just jinxed it. I think Portland does get one. Do I think LA is still going to win this game and go 6-0-1 and still be undefeated this season? Yeah, but I think Portland finally breaks it. And finally you see a 1 and that goal's allowed right now. But yeah, Portland is not a strong team, but they are playing at home, and I think they're going to want to be that one team that finally shakes off the rough start they had this season. And they know LA can really start to shape form some for them.
I mean, when you look at this team, I got a question for you. When you look at this team, do you see just an overall, strong team in every facet? I mean, I think Hugo, the goalkeeper, has done a phenomenal job as well, really anchoring that defense. I mean, offensively, defensively, goalkeeping, they've just been stellar. They're just a complete team right now. Firing on all cylinders, what I like to say.
Yeah, and they've been doing it right now, like I said, as a collective unit. So what's been impressive about it is that, the offensive threat makes it easier on the defense in this case. And because you have Bawanga up front, Son up front, it forces the team to basically have to play back on their heels a little bit more, which makes it easier on the defense, especially as the match moves on. Because you have a more rested defense if they don't have to work quite as hard. Because if you look at the heat map on LAFC's defense, it's not as bad as some of the other teams out there because they don't have to kill themselves as much.
And I'll tell you what, Hugo's made some saves too. This guy's he's had to make some saves in some of these matches. Above a little bit above what they've expected him to do this early in the season. But I mean, God, they're rolling. They're rolling, and yeah.
Yeah, he's had to face 22 shots so far of the 6 games. So you're looking at 3 and 2/3 shots per game, which is not a bad number.
No.
Credit, by the way, to Nashville. Nashville is at 12 shots allowed this season through 6 matches. We can talk about them probably in the near future because Sam Surge and that whole entourage is amazing to watch. But LAFC, from a defensive standpoint, has been really strong there. Let me take a quick look. Where's LAFC? LAFC only has 30 shots on goal across 6 matches. They're averaging 5 per match, which is pretty strong in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not absolutely unheralded. LA Galaxy are putting everything they can, and RBNY is throwing everything that they can as far as shots go. But credit to LAFC, they're picking their shots. They're not, like I said, top of the heap and damaging. They're being a little more precise with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, 30 shots on goal, 14 goals so far. You have an almost 50% rate right there. Yeah. So they pick their spots, and that's dangerous.
Well, yeah, and the attack has just been – they've just been swarming other opponent goalkeepers in defenses. I mean, that back – they've had to really – I mean, some of these teams – what can you do with them? They're just getting attacks and just being able to run with it. And there hasn't been, there hasn't been teams that have been able to stop it. So I don't know. I maybe as you get more tape on them, maybe, it is a long season. We're at the start of it.
Yeah, but I think we're barely a sixth of the way through the season right now.
Yeah, and I think that there's, like I said, I think if you get more tape on these guys, some of these opponents can figure out ways to stop them. Just by here's what they do, here's how they've been orchestrating a lot of these attacks. Here's what we need to do defensively to kind of thwart their offensive prowess, so to speak.
Sure. And again, they're not, 14 goals, solid for the top. That but obviously the goal differential of straight up 14 in this case is really, really impressive to watch. But again, here's also what worth pointing out. Maybe this is a slight segue, is that the West is so strong.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they're doing this against mediocre opponents. You know, you look at what the West actually currently has, and one of the things I was going to mention super quick is that LAFC, Vancouver, and San Jose, they have 16 clean sheets between them.
Right.
So you see how many clean sheets that team. There, three teams right now have 16. Three teams right now have 1/3 of the clean sheets this season.
Right.
So the West in general is so strong. It's going to be amazing to watch that.
Oh yeah, I mean the West is I agree. West is extremely strong. I mean, you just look at what you look at those standings and the stats. Even the stats you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. So it's amazing how much in the East. I mean, there's some good teams in the East, but
not like this.
not like what you're seeing in the West. That's for sure. I mean, you take even your top team at Nashville, and put them up against what you got. I mean, you look at it, hell, if Nashville was in the West, they would be fighting with spot. They would be fighting a spot with at number 4 and 5 with Real Salt Lake and Seattle. So
probably about that, yeah.
At 13 points, so yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, like I said, to see what happens going forward with this. But yeah, I think as far as Portland goes, I think Portland gets the first goal against them, but LAFC remains undefeated for the season. I'm predicting a 2-1 win for LA on that one. My opinion on it.
Okay. Who do you think gets a goal for Portland?
I'll go with Anthony. Safe bet.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, any other thoughts, ideas on that? Or are we good?
No, I mean, I think we're good. I mean, like I said, they're pretty dominant team out the gate here.
Yeah. Now, on the other side of the equation, on the other side of the country, we have a Philadelphia Union team. The Union have started out brutal.
Yeah.
No points in 6 matches. 0-6-0, which from a supporter shield down is, and obviously a lot of it is, trading away and getting rid of a lot of the pieces that they had, Ty Baribo, for example. But you see a team right now that is honestly just getting psychologically crushed. But my question is, do they really suck that much? Or is it maybe just a lot of 1-goal losses that you need 1 or 2 key pieces and maybe you can save the season?
Well, I don't know. I mean, in watching them and just looking at this losing streak and how they've lost, I don't know. I think that I think they're pretty bad. I mean, anytime you start with 6 consecutive losses after being a Supporters Shield winner, that's the worst. I mean, you are right. They have lost close games, but they've really struggled to find the back of the net. I mean, my God, you've only had 4 goals in 6 matches. I mean, you're investing the guys you lost, the some of the strikers that you got, some of these top signings of attackers. I mean, they've just failed to produce goals. And you're not, and it's one thing to not score goals, but to get significant shots on target. They're not even doing that. They're not even really doing that. You're not even really getting any quality shots. Hey, listen, here's the other thing too, though. Often they in some of these matches they've scored first.
Yeah.
So and you've had, like I said, you've lost on a lot of these 1-goal margins, but there's been times where they've let in possession. So I mean they've dominated certain aspects of play, but God, I mean I would describe that as being very fragile. When I mean it's I don't know. Is there hope for them? It's scarce, I would say. But
all right.
I mean, maybe you have a better take on it than me, but I mean, I just don't see. I just don't see. I mean, there are some areas for potential turnaround, and I think that number one is getting your offense going. You know what I mean? I mean, getting something going on that. There's some guys that need to step up on this team, like Blake.
That's what I meant to do.
Yeah. Bedoya, I would say, they need to step up some. Those are the guys that are kind of, they provide that leadership to these younger guys. But Larson's another guy. I mean, you have some depth. They have some depth. Ezekiel, he's another guy that they've, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, obviously, all they need to do is keep playing defense for us, and they're fine. But yeah, you have a 1-0 loss, you got a 2-1 loss, a 1-0 loss, a 3-1 loss, a 2-1 loss, and a 2-1 loss. They're all, with the exception of one, they're all 1-goal losses, and that's the difference. It's what you do in those 1-goal games. I get that, and pretty much any sport, one possession, one score. But it also tells me that maybe they're not as far off as, a team like, say, Orlando, whose goal differential is -18. Brutal.
Right.
I mean, it's a -7 right now through 6 games. It's not great. It's a bad look. But Philadelphia is mainly, obviously, a Phillies and Eagles town anyway. So you can fly it a little under the radar that way, especially with the fact that the Wings are on their way out, too, which kind of sucks. But that's another thing entirely for NLL.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
What do you think about their formation, the 4-2-2-2? I mean, that's your signature. That's kind of your signature press and counter. I understand that they want to run that because they want to press and they want to try to get counterattacks and they want to be, and they want to try to generate some sort of goal scoring. When you only scored 4 goals in the last 6 games, you got to do, what you got to do, but. Is that the right system for this? Is that the right system for them at this point in time? That's the other question. That's what I'm saying.
If it works, don't fix it. If it does, but insanity is also doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Right, and they've ran that for a while now.
Yeah,
they've ran that formation for a while now. Yeah, it worked when they won the Supporters Shield because they had the supporting cast, to run that kind of formation. Now you don't have that. And that's kind of been the thing that I've been looking at. Maybe you need to switch that up a little bit.
Unless they're just looking at this season and just calling it a garbage year and letting it go.
Well, I don't think in the beginning, on here sitting here April 7th that's something you ought to, what I mean? Now if we were sitting here, it was July 7th, then yeah, of course. I just don't think that's. I think you need to. I mean, they can turn this around now. What's the? I guess how would you define turning the season around? How would you define that? I mean, they've already dug themselves a pretty massive hole. But stranger things have happened, But I don't know. But that's my biggest thing is I don't think the 4-2-2-2 formation is. I think that's something that. That's something they got to get away from and try to bring something, and I don't know, has Bradley Carnell, has he been asked about that? Has anybody brought that up to him?
I'm not sure if Tannenwald or the rest of them have at this point. I was going to ask you if Carnell's job is in jeopardy too. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, as far as the offense goes, I mean, it's brutal to look at,
right?
And for somebody like you mentioned Andre Blake, somebody who's probably on the back end of his career. This might be his last shot.
Right.
To land something with Philly.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm Carnell, I'm saying, and I know I'm really focusing on the formation. I'm saying, hey guys, this isn't working. Like, we gotta. This isn't what we need to be running right now. We need to be doing something else because it's just not working for us.
Yeah.
You need more. You need more back end defense. You really do at this point in time.
It's a good point. In this case, I also double checked, by the way. Blake is signed through this year with a club option for next year.
Yeah. And he needs to perform better. They need more performance out of him.
Yeah, I mean, they've been running the 4-4-2 I just checked it out right now. Across everything, including CONCACAF. They've done the 4-4-2 setup for every single match except for 2 CONCACAF matches, which were both of them 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
But the 4-4-2 clearly worked against defense force, but that's kind of, I guess, in a way to be expected. And we'll talk about, MLS versus other leagues, and going forward a little bit later today. But for Andre Blake, he's the one I feel the worst for in this case because he has given his heart and soul for this team for a long time.
He has, but and I've said this, but there still has to be accountability, So,
do you think if this team continues to struggle, Carnell is out?
You got to do something.
And also, can I spell the word Jeopardy correct? Which I didn't realize I misspelled it. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're the front office, you've got to, I still don't know why they got rid of Jim Curtin. Well, I know why they got rid of him, but I thought that was a bad move on their part. But it is what it is. Here's another thing. How about Larson? He shows a lot of potential in the preseason. He showed a lot of potential in the preseason, but he's been relatively quiet at the start of the regular season.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what this entire team does across the board, even Larson too. But
yeah. So
now the match, I want to mention this though. The match they have this weekend is coming up against the CF Montreal.
Yeah.
Now, CF Montreal has always had a bizarre schedule. This year they've had the first 6 games have been on the road. This is actually their home opener 2 months into the season.
Yeah.
But if any team right now could fix this, it would be facing a team like CF Montreal.
Well, yeah, I mean they're 1-0-5. The only guy you got to really worry about is Prince on that match. I mean, he's got 4 goals already. Well, I tell you what, too, you've got to worry about Carmona as well. He's got 3 goals. But aside from that, they just have not. They've kind of been a disappointment as well. So, but yeah, I mean, that might be a game that might be their bounce back game, Scott.
Very possibly, yeah. It'll be interesting to see, like I said, what they can do. But this is their must win. They have to get this. They have to get that 1 win under their belt, and I don't think even a draw. I think even like a 1-1 draw, getting that first point isn't enough. I think you need a full 3 here, because truth be told, you're not that far out of a playoff spot either.
No, you're not. Like I said, it's early in the season. It is early in the season. We're only in April. We're only in the beginning of April. But I mean, if they have any chance, if they have any, reservations about turning this season around, you got to do it. This is the game to do it.
Sure.
So,
but yeah, I'm curious to see what happens here. But yeah, any other final thoughts on that?
No, it's no, not really. I mean, it's kind of cut and dry.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
So,
okay, so due to scheduling, we're going to be talking about this a little bit earlier than planned. But next Tuesday is the U.S. Open Cup round of 32. Now, you obviously cover USL where I handle MLS. With leagues like this, and we'll use the Riverhounds as a great example. The Riverhounds are going into New Jersey, which is not that far for them, to face the New York Red Bulls in New Jersey at Sports Illustrated Field. If you hear any underlying sarcasm in how I said that, please take note of that. Yeah. But irrespective of that point, you have a strong Riverhounds team going up against a weaker and honestly turbulent a little bit RBNY team. The fans have a lot of complaints. They had signs out, talking about passion before profit and all these kind of things that are going on. Right. So round of 32 as an example here. Can basically the Riverhounds win this game, and how far can they or any USL team go?
I mean, Red Bulls have struggled. I mean, God, it's hard to believe this team was in the championship just a few years ago. It's hard to believe that they, but yeah, I mean, I think that they can. I mean, I got to be honest with you, though. I mean, their first couple U.S. Open Cup games weren't that really. I mean, I didn't think Steel City FC was much of a test for them, and I didn't think that the Virginia Dream was either. Really, to be honest with you, I would say that this is obviously you're facing an MLS team that's it's going to be a little bit, and you're going away. Those first 2 matches were at home. I think this may be a little bit more of a test for them But I think it's a winnable match for the Hounds. But
I'm gonna say being a midweek match too, the fan turnout for RBNY is not going to be that high anyway.
no.
U.S. Open Cup at this point usually isn't anyway.
No, and I mean that's unfortunate. I don't know. It's kind of like I don't know. Rob Vincent hasn't. We really haven't asked him too much about some of his lineups on these Open Cups. You kind of tell that. I don't know. I think this is a lot of teams, not just the Riverhounds. I think a lot of these teams. They're not too concerned about this Open Cup. They're really not. I mean, I think some of them are. I think maybe like when you go up against an MLS team, I think maybe you're more apt to lean on your regular starters a little bit more, just because you're playing an MLS team. But I think that some of these teams, it's just kind of like you're kind of concerned about your USL games, and you don't want to get guys injured for this. Yeah, and that's a very good question. Some of it is. I mean, I think that anytime you're a USL team playing up and facing an MLS team, I mean, that's like you kind of get up for those matches more. Mm-hmm. But I think some of these other matches that like I said, given the Riverhounds as an example, Virginia Dream. I mean, they saw they sat some guys. I mean, they sat some guys because it wasn't like we need these guys we need our starters in there to have a chance of winning. Mm-hmm. No, it was like, hey, we can get this job done without So I think that I think it is somewhat of a distraction for teams. I
mean, I don't think they'll ever come out and say it outright. We're putting everything we have into this, but when you have an MLS season as long as it is, you have obviously it's a midweek game. It throws off your schedule. So you have games on Saturday, and then bam, 3 days later you've got a game here, and then you have another one 4 days after that. Right. So it breaks up the schedule. Now it's a good chance, I think, for some of the players that don't always get a lot of minutes to get in there. The B squad, the rest squad, get them in there. I hate to say it, sorry in advance, but playing against a lower level team like USL or Westchester SC or any of these guys, who are going to give it everything they've got. But by the same token, don't forget last year, NYCFC went to Pittsburgh and lost. Right. So you have that bit of pride where you cannot get humiliated like that.
And that was a big win. I was at I covered that game.
I remember you were there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a big win for I think that was really kind of and obviously Riverhounds winning the championship, but I think that was like a building block for them.
Sure,
I said that. I said that because I thought when we even mentioned that, I remember post game, is this kind of like a game that you kind of, it's your measuring stick game where you're like, okay, maybe we can make a run this year by beating a team like this, So yeah, I mean, I think anytime a USL team goes up against an MLS team, like I said, I think they're approaching it way different than a USL 1 team that you're going up against. So
interesting, but yeah, I do wonder in this case because again, a lot of them they say all the right things. But the truth is, it throws them off their schedule. It's added games.
Well, and it's not just American soccer. I mean, look at my team that I follow, Arsenal. Mm-hmm. You think that they're concerned about a lot of these other UEFA and no, they want to win the Premier League title. Period. Sure. That's their. They haven't done it in a long time, and that's their that's their target. They want that's their main focus, and I think I think that's like worldwide. Some of these cups in competitions really don't matter for some of these teams.
Yeah, Now Campeones Cup is a little different Because Campeones Cup has, the best,
Right.
the team that won the MLS Cup the year prior against the team that won Liga MX the prior year. So
Right.
it is a one-off match. Winner gets trophy. So I was there for 2022 when NYCFC defeated Atlas. And you mentioned the fact that, with Pittsburgh, it was a catalyst for that team to kind of get going because they were in the middle of a losing streak. They win, they get the trophy on this, they beat the Liga MX team, and then they made a decent run the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So that's different, though, because that is a one-off winner gets trophy, and then you have that trophy forever. And I've seen that trophies in the display case.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, all it was one match, not an internal playoff system inside of another system.
Right.
And that's where, things like Campeones Cup, I think are a little more interesting and a little easier, and teams are more willing to throw everything that they've got because you're already in the finals right out of the gate.
Right.
And that's a little different. This one, you got this match, and then you got the 16 and then the 8. And I think a lot of times teams and even fans, I've seen this a lot of fans, they're like, can we just get back to the regular season? We don't care.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I look at the Riverhounds. These last 2 Open Cup matches, they haven't drawn a lot of crowd. I mean, it's been in the middle of the week, and it was kind of, cold weather, bad weather, and
How much are they drawing right now?
For those cup matches. Well, the last one against the Dream, I think they only drew like, I want to say it was like 1,800, maybe 2,000.
I was going to guess about $2,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was right under 2. They drew, which is not a lot for a team that sells out every regular USL match. They sell out, So now the Steel City FC being low, that was damn near a sellout. But this last Open Cup, not so much. So,
well, the Cosmos, by the way, drew 1,100 again. So after their 4,100 that they had in their series in their season opener, they've dropped down by a full third.
It's proof that nostalgia stuff, it's been too long, and a lot of that stuff doesn't matter to people anymore. I mean, that's proof right there,
And soccer in general is a younger of the average fan base. I think the average fan base for soccer is like 42 years old. Whereas baseball is like 50 or 60, and the NFL is older.
Right.
And as a result, you get all these kids who don't care because it's like, okay, what's a Cosmo? It's space. They don't really understand the history and Pele. They couldn't care less.
Right.
They're more interested in Messi and Son and players like that.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned a little bit about this team because if it flounders and drops, that's going to look really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm a little concerned by some of the numbers and some of the problems I've been seeing over there.
Yeah. Here's a match that I wanted to, obviously I'm very interested to see what happens against Red Bull and in the team that I cover, the Riverhounds. But I'll tell you another matchup that I'm looking at too, and then I'm kind of circling, is that Detroit City FC versus Chicago Fire.
I saw that, yeah.
Because you got basically 2. I mean, Chicago's sitting right at, I think they're in 5th in the East in MLS, and you've got Detroit sitting at 6, right above the Riverhounds. So you've got 2 teams that are kind of in the same position in their respective leagues or conferences, and I think that's gonna be a good match.
And what makes it interesting also is not just it's a home match for Detroit, which is going to be big on that one. The Chicago fans are not going to make the trip for something like this. And unless I'm mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but in Michigan itself, they're the only soccer team that's out there, right? Yeah, because you got Minnesota. I mean, there's nothing in Wisconsin, like as far as like MLS goes. Minnesota is the only team that's north there. So you have a possibility of a stronger fan base with, coming out for something like this because they're going to see a professional MLS team in their own backyard.
Right.
And a team that's on the rise, admittedly, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Detroit has a similar situation to what Pittsburgh has.
Yeah.
There's not the closest proximity MLS team in Pittsburgh is Columbus Crew. And with Detroit, you don't have an MLS team in Detroit, and I mean they may not make Chicago. Your dedicated Chicago Fire fans may not make that trip.
They probably won't,
because
especially for a midweek game. And
I always said it wouldn't be so bad Chicago to Detroit, but you got to drive around that damn lake.
yeah. Michigan is one of those
That's
really
the problem.
weird states, man. It's a weird state because it's broken up into two different parts.
I mean, it's not the proximity. If you didn't have that lake, that drive would be nothing. But you got that damn lake there. You gotta drive around that damn thing. So,
but I think for a team like that, they're playing for it. For Chicago, definitely not so much.
No. Yeah, I mean, this is a Detroit. Same with Pittsburgh. This is a game that they're like, okay, we need to really try to win this thing, guys. And especially Detroit City facing the Fire at home. The Detroit FC fans, they get out in full force, man. They support that club. So
let's see, where do they stand right now? Yeah, I'm just looking at the overall USL standings right now.
Yeah, they're sitting at 6th. So
there
in the East. Okay.
Yeah. You'd know that because Pittsburgh is 7 right now.
Right. Yep. They're 6 and 7. Yeah. So,
but there's been a little bit of chirping. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this one too. Sacramento, by the way, who's currently at 3rd, and for USL has always really done well as far as attendance goes. There's talk that they might try and make an MLS push.
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean if there's any team out of the West that could do it, it probably would be them. They do have a following, and they've been decent in recent years. I mean,
they just made some major additions to the stadium to increase the attendance.
Right. I just, matter of fact, last week I just watched a match was Sacramento and in Phoenix. They do come out in full force. I could see that. I mean, I could see that. So
now, I'll be honest with you, I don't like the idea. I think when you have as many teams as you have in California on the MLS level as it is, 2 LA teams. Okay, San Diego is pretty far away. That's okay. But San Jose is 120 miles.
You're right.
So you already have the problem is you have to fight into a new fan base.
Right.
And that's where my concern is that they're going to get swallowed up a little bit because they're already a pre-existing fan base. If San Jose sucked ass like they did a few years ago, different conversation. But they're a strong team. I mean, they've got 5 clean sheets on the season. They're 3rd in the West. There's interest, there's intrigue.
Right.
Uphill battle.
And that San Jose team, it's not like it's like a newer expansion team. That team was relevant back in the day, Landon Donovan days. You had that was a very popular MLS team 25 years ago. Like I said, Landon Donovan put them on the map. That one year they went against wasn't it Jim Curtin in the Chicago Fire?
Yeah,
they went up against in the championship and won. So I mean that's a storied franchise. It's not like you're going up against a franchise that's maybe 6 years old. That's a storied MLS franchise, and I agree with that. You would be having to really, you'd really have to put a winner out there for anybody to jump ship and start, following you as a club. I don't think it would happen. I think you've got too many earthquake fans that are rooted in that area.
Yeah.
So,
now in this case, I should also mention, Bill, you know this already. We're currently in talks to have Ted Ramey come back on again. He was here last year at the beginning of the season to talk the Earthquakes, to talk what was going on with that team and the excitement. And he had, we have a handshake deal. We're just trying to work out timing on that. But to see what that team has been for a lot of years, the cellar dweller that they were, to compete last year to make it interesting, and this year to be an exciting, fun Earthquake team. Right. We're going to talk to him about that, just the fan base in general in Sacramento, because he also does broadcasting for the Sharks too.
Yeah.
So if it's San Jose sports, it's pretty much him. So the fans over there, they're clamoring for something like this because it's been a long time coming for both those teams have struggled. So we're working on that. But yeah, I mean, San Jose has the fan base. Obviously it's not as powerful as obviously like say the Galaxy are, but you have, and also not even just that, not even just California, but you go north to Portland, to Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, Portland, we talked about the fact Portland is struggling a little bit right now too, but Portland has history and longevity.
Right.
I mean, Portland's granted 600 miles, but it's still, it's already, in a lot of ways, it's already oversaturated. You're not going to see like a Pacific Coast League team try to go into Major League Baseball. It's not going to fly. Stay in your lane. My opinion only, Sacramento probably should stay where it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm just worried about the team is all,
Yeah, I think the proximity of where you're at would not be favorable to try to make a push to the MLS. I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be interested to see what they do. I understand, from a financial standpoint, they're really throwing into it. And if any team, I think in USL could make the push, it would be them. Because they have led or been at the top of attendance every single year for the last 5 years. I think 3 of the last 5 years, I believe it was, they led the league. They led the USL in attendance. Yeah. So fans are definitely coming out for this stuff. But if you go into MLS, suddenly things are going to get more expensive. Right. So the benefit of USL, much like a lot of other leagues, even in other sports, like UFL in football, since we got that going on, Frontier League or any independent leagues, is the fact that it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to go. Right. A finger, not an arm and a leg. And that's where, like I said, that's what the affordability factor is, where I think Sacramento's strongest suit is. If you go to MLS, those ticket prices may go up.
Yeah.
And if they're going to go up, people are maybe more interested in focusing on a team that has a track record and a fan base. And
and like I said, you're not going to take away from. You said how far is it? How far is it from
120 miles?
Yeah, which is not. That's
and less than 400 from LA. I may point out too.
Yeah, that's not that far at all.
Yeah,
and you're not going to take fans from the Earthquake fan base. You're just not. I mean, like I said, that's a storied franchise. And I would say this about the Earthquakes, and I know I mentioned it, but Landon Donovan, widely credited for putting them on the map. I mean, when you look at what he did when he arrived in 2000, they went from league worst to best.
Yeah.
In his tenure, from 01 to 04, he led the team, in those cup titles, 01 and 03 as a teenager. And that, like I said, that's a deep fan base. We're not talking about a recently expanded expansion team. That's a deep fan base, and you're not going to take away that. You're not going to take fans away from them. You're just not.
And additionally, also, if you go to the MLS level, and this is probably my last point on this, if you go to the MLS level on something like this, suddenly you have a division of where your loyalty is going to lie, because you can be a fan of a USL team and an MLS team.
Yeah.
But now when you're both at the same level, you got to decide which way
you're
going to
choose. Exactly.
Yeah. NYCFC, ironically enough, is playing Westchester SC. They're playing like right up the road, like 15 miles.
Right.
Westchester SC fans are NYCFC fans.
Right.
If Westchester decides to go into MLS, suddenly those fans got to make a decision. Do we go with the team that we had, or the team that basically plays in New York City that has a title under their belt?
And you look at it, if a team's a fan of Sacramento, or if a fans, let's say they're smack dab in the middle between San Jose and Sacramento. If they're a fan of the USL team, Sacramento, and they're a fan of the Quakes, who do you think they're going to choose?
Oh, yeah. You go with
especially a fan that's been a fan for a long time. Who do you think they're going to choose? It's definitely not going to be Sacramento, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, and that's where my concern is a little bit. Give them points for trying, I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But, we'll see what happens on there. So, all right. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else, by the way?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
So I think we'll wrap it up at this point. Let us know in the comments, as always, what you think. Do you agree with what we say? Do you think we're full of crap? Either way is fine. I'm just curious to hear what you have to say. We'll talk USL, probably a little more Open Cup, probably next week if we get the chance, depending on scheduling and whatnot. But
And I do want to say one thing.
Please.
Like I said, we talked Philadelphia. Let's hope that they can, kind of turn this around a little bit. Like I said, you got Montreal.
We're not that far off.
Yeah. I know. Blake has been bombarded this year. He's been bombarded. And he's doing. I know I was critical on him. But he is the leader on that team, being a goalkeeper. He is the one that they're kind of looking towards, and there has to be better play from some of these veterans that they have left. So, but yeah, I mean, it hasn't been easy at all for him this year. I want to just point that out. I was kind of quick to throw him under the bus, but it hasn't been easy for him this year. Given what he's had to face. So
also keep in mind that Kevin Sullivan's on the clock too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's arguably one of your biggest marketing draws right now with that team.
Right.
But he's on the clock. As soon as he's 18, he's gone to Europe.
Yeah.
So you got to look at it from that perspective, that what do you have as the face of your franchise?
Right.
Because you dumped them all. You dumped Ty Baribo. You dumped Glesnes. You dumped all of these guys that were mainstays, and this is the end result of it.
Right.
But maybe if they get a qualified goal scorer somewhere, maybe they can still salvage the season. They're not going to win. They'll sneak in at like 9th, but I don't think they're done yet.
Yeah.
But all right. So appreciate it as always. Again, my name is Scott Churchson. That is, of course, Mr. Bill Akins. Going to change the title of this probably because it says MLS Sports Writers React, and that's not really fair to him. So I'm going to change that probably in the near future. But anyway, thanks as always. Take care. Stay awesome.